E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Ginwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. This week, Jim, we are doing our whole week on From Our Heart to Your Heart.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking heart to heart. We talk about one of those real down-to-earth, heart-thumping kind of conversations this week.
This one's literal.
Yes, we're talking about heart disease. Number one killer. And you might say I've got a little experience in that, a personal experience in that. We'll get into that later on. But, you know, today, it seems like every other week on National Today, they talk about it being National Pizza Day. Pizza something, pepperoni. You know, my favorite pizza is actually pepperoni and pineapple. And people look at me like I'm weird. But when I first got introduced to that, I thought, pepperoni and pineapple, okay, but I liked it. So
okay,
today is
weird.
Yeah, that's right. I'll own that. I'll own that. But National Cheese Pizza Day is today, and it's just amazing. It says each year more than 2 billion pounds of pizza cheese is produced in the U.S. alone. It really is amazing, and that's one of the things when it comes to cheese I love, but it loved me too much, and with my heart I had to curtail it. You know, I'm not going to give it up. I'm not going to give it up 100%. You blame me, Donna?
No, but you're backing it down to be healthier.
Yes. Because with heart disease, look at it like this. Whatever you've been eating is now starting to eat you, because on the molecular level, every single living thing needs some type of nourishment to survive. That includes cancer, arthritis, right on down the line. So therefore, if you shut off the supply line, you're going to start starving it out a little bit, and that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
And also, Donna, I know you're very special about this National Child Protection Week. That is huge, with especially you being a mom, and it's just, and I know you personally. That's just right down your alley, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, when my children were young, we went through all the, the normal things that people do, the stranger danger. I got my children cell phones when they were young because being a single mom and working, I needed to know that they were okay. Mm-hmm. And of course, there was responsibility with it. We also had a landline. So in case something happened, they couldn't find their phone, they could use a landline. But one of the things that we did then, and we still do now, is we have a code that we can send out to each other that is just special to us. That means drop whatever the hell you're doing and get ready, call now. There's something important, something's happened. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an important thing to establish as well. And also having a backup plan, especially as working parents, having a backup plan with somebody in the neighborhood that your child can go to in case of an emergency.
Yeah. And even as a human being, if you're out there in public, you may not even see a kid, but you've got enough smarts to realize that when a child may be in danger with a stranger.
Well, I just read an article, Jim, and actually saw the clip of it because it was filmed with their video camera in Hamilton, Ohio. A little 6-year-old girl, literally outside her front door, went outside, wasn't a real big yard, went on the sidewalk to put the trash out. And some guy was walking down the street and grabbed her hand and started to drag her away. And he
Wow.
was a younger, I think he was like 30 something. And she screamed, like, piercing scream. And he let go of her hand.
Hmm.
And of course, mom and dad, were there.
Jetpack
She ran
out.
back into the house, told them what happened. Dad jumped in the car, calling 911, and followed him until the police got to him and could arrest him. And he said, I was so upset that there was no way I was going to let him go. I followed him as though he still had my child in order to protect any other child that he would do this to.
Amen.
Right.
Amen. Hmm. Yeah.
So, it can happen anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
And, when we're in grocery stores, and
Hmm.
this is a big one to me, been there, done that. When you're a mom and you're single, or whether you're not single, but you're just a single parent at the grocery store and you've got a couple of kids and you're trying to get your groceries, you know what? Always take a moment and watch out for those,
Yeah.
those,
Yeah.
those parents with the kids
Yeah.
around them.
And also too, yeah, your cat. That's a cat approved message there.
That's
But
Niner.
but also too, if you're in a public place and you see something like that happen, a kid gets abducted into a car or something like that. Use common sense. You may not have time to open up your cell phone, get your camera going, and all that, but at least call 911. Repeat what the tag number is on the vehicle, the color of the vehicle, and you can follow that vehicle talking to 911 to
Right.
ground guide the police there, because you might be able to save the life, because that's exactly what they take. They not only
Right.
take the person, but they take their life, the little kid's life. And that's extremely important, because anyway, I better not go there, because don't want to say anything on TV that have me peeling potatoes up the penitentiary. But I do not care for those people. I do not respect them, and that's all I'm going to say.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm an old Vietnam veteran, so obviously I came back. That's all I'm going to say, folks. That's it. I say no more. I know nothing. I've seen nothing. That's how it goes towards
It does.
Schultz.
Well, let's get into today's
Yeah.
subject.
Yes, ma'am.
This is really this is an important subject for all of us.
Mhm.
And warnings, signs of heart attacks.
Mm.
So these are just some of them: is chest pain, body pains, sweating, fatigue, shortness of breath, lightheadedness, heart palpitations, indigestion. Okay, so those are all things. Go see a doctor. Taking a preventive measure is the first thing you need to do in order to protect yourself from having a heart attack.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right. And so, Jim, as not all heart attacks are alike, right? And here's
Not at
something
all.
else: women and men have different symptoms.
They sure do.
So, right. Sometimes having a heart attack, you can have one without feeling any chest pain.
Mhm.
Heart failure and heart disease don't show the same signs for everyone, again, especially in women. The
Yeah.
heart is a muscle that obviously contracts to pump blood throughout your body. And a heart attack occurs when the heart muscle doesn't get enough blood. And the blood carries the oxygen and the nutrients into the heart muscle. When there isn't enough blood flowing into your heart muscle, the affected part can be damaged or die.
Yeah.
And this is dangerous and often deadly.
Yeah. One of the things that you should do, even in doubt, because no one's going to laugh at you. I'm going to talk more probably Wednesday, and Wednesday's show, I think it will be. Dixie's playing with my foot here, so I got a kitty cat. She's important. Okay.
Right.
But in my situation, I had the same symptoms on a Thursday night that I had on Friday night. That was in October of 2021, Halloween night. But on Thursday night, I had the same symptoms. I had a little just burning sensation, like acid reflux, I guess, because I've never had acid reflux. I just felt, just a burning sensation in the center of my chest. I had pains in my elbows, down in both arms, and then pain in between my shoulders. So I went and I took, so I thought, this is weird. Yeah, not thinking. I've never had anything like that before. So I go and take a teaspoon of baking soda, put it in a glass of water, stir it up, drink it, and it went away. I thought, whoa, whatever that was.
Right.
Next night on Friday night, I had the same exact thing, but one more additional symptom. And I was very, very anxious. I call it restless because that's exactly how I felt, was restless, ladies and gentlemen. If I was sitting down, I felt like I needed to stand up. When I stood up, I felt like I needed to go lay down somewhere. I was just like a fish out of water.
Wanting to crawl out of your own skin.
Yeah, just couldn't get, it's really kind of hard to explain, but there was no rest for me. So I go in there and I lay down in the bed and have my wife check my blood pressure, and it's high, and I'm thinking, oh, that machine's goofy. She checks it and it's not, And long story short, we're going to get more into detail on this on Wednesday, like I said. I decided I'm just going to get this checked out. And when I got to the ER, that's the smart move to do, because if there's a question you have, go ahead and go to the ER and have them check it out. Because when they draw the blood, they're looking for a certain protein. I don't remember the name, but it starts with a T. And if they see that protein, because that's the heart's way of trying to break through all that plaque to get some blood going.
Right.
It releases that protein. And when they see that in the blood, they know you got a heart problem.
Absolutely. And, here's something else, that some of the less commonly known symptoms can something like stress, physical exertion, cold weather. And that causes the blood vessel to contract or spasm, which decreases, of course, the amount of blood that can get into your heart muscles. But there are many risk factors that can contribute to having a heart attack or, heart issues. So age, heredity, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, poor diet, excessive alcohol consumption, or smoking, stress, and physical inactivity.
Amen.
And, the thing is that I think it's so important, Jim, to listen to your body.
Amen.
Just like you did, right?
Yeah.
So, and I get it. I understand what it means to well, that's kind of weird. I'm just going to, I'm not, okay, I'm a little concerned, but I'm just going to watch it. But if something comes back again, man, get to your doctor, get to the hospital, do something and get in there, right?
Yeah, because when I responded there, they were able to give me, they knew I was having a heart attack, even though I didn't think I was having one, okay. But they gave me the aspirins and nitro, and that opened up everything. Then when they did the ultrasound on my heart, they says, hey, your heart's in great shape. No muscle damage or nothing. See, that is the advantage of responding quickly, because if I'd have put it off and say, well, it's not really my heart, it's probably something I ate, yada, yada, yada. And it could have put more, I could have suffered muscle damage in my heart. So once I come over the heart attack, once I get done with all the open heart surgery I went through, I still got to now deal with a damaged tissue in my heart that is not, it cannot be repaired.
Right.
So also too, I want to mention something about hereditary. That's why doctors asked you if heart disease runs in your family. It did in my family. This is where I missed the boat big time. My cholesterol level was good. My LDL, the bad cholesterol, was at 76 2 years ago when I was 71. And even in the hospital after my heart attack's 96. My blood pressure is always good. So I felt that was my safety net. If my blood pressure is good, my cholesterol is good, I got to be, heart's got to be good, right? Problem with that philosophy, that bird brain philosophy I had, when I had a heart attack, that safety net I thought I had a big hole in it.
Right.
So my point being, ladies and gentlemen, if heart disease runs in your family, have your doctor set you up with an appointment with a cardiologist. And just say, hey, the reason I'm here and the reason I had this appointment set up, heart disease runs in my family because, listen up, sports fans, I mean this sincerely, I had what was known as a Widowmaker. The Widowmaker cannot be discovered by normal test. It's got to be discovered by a cardiologist when they're looking into your heart. And
Right.
that Widowmaker, it's a bad boy. And men and women can both get it.
Right.
It's just called the Widowmaker because it takes a lot of guys out. Anyway, Donna, we were talking there, and I get off on my soapbox. I apologize.
Well, no,
But
no, it's important. But, here's something that I think a lot of us don't really think about. We always associate heart attacks with our left arm, right?
Right, right.
But it's not just chest pain. So it cannot even hit your arm, but it can hit in your upper abdomen, your shoulder, your back, your neck, your throat. How about this one? Your teeth or your jaw.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And women tend to report heart attacks that cause pain specifically in the lower abdomen and lower portion of the chest. And the pain may not be concentrated at the chest at all. So it can feel like pressure in the chest and pain in other parts of the body. Upper back pain is another symptom women have more commonly than men do.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. My brother had the same type of, he had to have an open heart surgery and bypass surgery like I did. We both had the Widowmaker, but they told Ben, "You've already had a heart attack." And he says, "I have not." And the only time that we can possibly figure that he had a heart attack, my brother used to be a truck driver. He drove the semis up and down from LA to California. I'm in San Francisco there in California for many, many years. He logged over 5 million miles, never had an accident. And a lot of times he pulled the doubles, the two trailers. He was on his way one time from LA out to Phoenix. He says, "I'm working part-time now, only do 2 runs a week. I go to Phoenix and I go to Tucson and back, and that's it." But anyway, he got kind of confused or something. He doesn't really remember what happened. He didn't have any body pain or anything, but he pulled his truck over and he broke out in a sweat.
Oh,
And
yes.
then he called Cheryl, his wife, and he says, "I don't really know where I'm at." He was confused, but he didn't have any type of body pain neck down. Everything was just confusion in his mind, sweating. And that's about the only time that something weird like that happened, that it was probably a possibility. This is when you suffered a heart attack, Ben.
Right.
There's another time because he was telling the doctor about it, the cardiologist is that's when you had it, I bet.
Right. And that's the next thing in this article is sweating, sweating day and night. So if you're sweating more than usual, that can be an early warning sign of heart problems.
Oh, yeah.
And night sweats are also a common symptom for women experiencing heart troubles. So women may mistake the symptoms. Now, this is important, super important, folks. Women may mistake the night sweats for menopause versus heart problems.
That's right.
There you go, right? So if you wake up and your sheets are soaked or you can't sleep due to your, sweating, this could be a sign of heart issues or a heart attack. So please, please, please bear that in mind.
Yeah.
And another one, Jim, is fatigue.
Oh, yeah. Because all of these, Donna, and I just want to pop in there for a second, if I may. Just remember this: your heart is a muscle, and it's about the size of your fist, and it's pumping. And so if it's got clogged arteries, like I had 90% in the Widowmaker in the LAD portion of my heart, the main pump, and it's trying to squeeze blood through there, that's why you're sweating. That's why you're fatigued. Does that make sense?
Yep. So that's what this next portion of this article is about, folks, is fatigue. Now, before I read a little bit about that, I just want to say that normal heart, good heart range is between 60 and 100. Okay, so that's important to know too. But fatigue is a less commonly recognized symptom of heart attack in women. So we don't think about that, right? Women, we may even think that it's a flu-like symptom or, geez, I'm just really, super tired, shortness of breath. Damn it, what is going on? I have just, I'm not taking my vitamins right, or maybe I'm not resting well. These are so important,
Hmm.
so
Yes, ma'am.
important because we don't think about it. And I'm going to say this for women because what we do is by nature, at least for me, but I'm going to say most women, by
Hmm.
nature, we try and take care of everything,
Hmm.
right? So we are multitaskers because we don't have a bloody choice, right? So when we're doing dishes, you're thinking, oh, okay, when I go to the grocery, I got to make sure when I do the grocery list, I got to put, we need vegetables and hamburger and chicken and some toilet paper and blah, blah, blah. And oh, I got to get that bill paid. We are
Yeah.
constantly thinking about this. So because we do that, we tend to put off fatigue
Yeah.
as something that's important. Am I wrong, Jim?
Yeah. Exactly. And from the guy's point of view, if we're fatigued or if, we have whatever we're going through, we don't want to even think that it could be a heart issue.
Right.
We want to self-justify in our minds that I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how did that work out for me? Because I joke about it now. I had a heart attack at midnight on Halloween.
Right. Right.
And but how did that work out for me when I justified in my mind that if my blood pressure's good, my cholesterol levels are good, my heart's got to be good. Like I said before, that was my safety net. When I fell that night, safety net had a hole in it. That's not fun. Trust me on that.
Right.
But no matter what, do not be ashamed. Do not be embarrassed. Just say, hey, if you have some kind of these symptoms or whatever, and you don't really know what it is, you honestly cannot say, don't speculate. Just go to the ER and just say, hey, I just want to get checked out, see if anything's going on with my heart, because I don't know.
Absolutely.
I'm not a hypochondriac or anything like that, but your heart is so valuable to you. If you make a erroneous decision and not seek help, even my wife asked me, says, are you going to go right now? It's about 15 minutes to midnight. So you're going to go midnight? Are you going to go tonight? It's midnight. You're going to wait until morning. I said, I'm going now. I want to find out
Right.
what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't live in the dark. And it's a good thing because they got up there, my blood pressure, as Donna very well knows, when I got to the ER, they took my blood pressure 190 over 111.
Whoops.
And that is you can easily see if I'd have put that off till in the morning.
You may not have
I,
seen morning.
I could be out that. And also, especially I didn't know I had the Widowmaker, number one, number two.
Right.
But I could have damaged some tissue in my heart.
Right.
So procrastination is not your buddy when it comes to, it ain't your buddy at any time, but especially when you're dealing with your heart. If there's a doubt in your mind, get it checked out, because living in fear, all you do is enslave yourself.
Right.
Set yourself free. And no one's going to laugh at you. If they do, heck with them. It's your heart.
And this
not
is
theirs.
why we're talking about it, because, I know from my point of view, I don't think about these things.
No, not at all.
And, at 57, shame on me. So this has been really eye-opening for me to learn about this, because here's the thing, folks. Let's be honest. Probably the majority of us have heart disease in our family.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? Somewhere. But women, we can often put it off until it's a real big problem, when if we are honest with ourselves and learn about these warning signs, right?
Yeah.
That we can do preventive maintenance so that we don't have a heart attack, so that we don't have to go through open heart surgery and have, we can take care of it early. So one of the things I've learned about, Jim, is lightheadedness.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Lightheadedness and dizziness can occur with a heart attack and are often symptoms women describe. This sensation is certainly not a normal feeling and shouldn't be ignored. Like you feel like you might pass out when they try to stand up. and you got to stop and go, whoa, you know? So that's something also to, how often is that happening to you?
Mhm.
And of course, heart palpitations, right?
Oh, yeah.
What about this one? This is a biggie, Jim.
What's that?
Indigestion, nausea, and vomiting,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
right? We don't think about that.
Mm.
But often people begin experiencing mild indigestion and
Mhm.
other gastrointestinal problems before a heart attack.
Yeah. And
Because
normally what they normally think, oh, must have been something I ate.
exactly.
You
But
know?
heart attacks usually occur in older people who typically have more indigestion problems. And these symptoms can get dismissed, just like you
Mhm.
said, with heartburn or other food related issues,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the biggie. If you think you're having a heart attack, what should you do? If you think you're having a heart attack, have somebody, of course, call emergency services right away.
Mhm. Yeah.
It is unsafe to drive yourself to the hospital,
Oh, yeah.
right? And my husband's father had lots of heart problems, and he was literally lived in a real small town, and this was many, 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 many years
Mhm.
ago. But was
Yeah.
driving and had a massive heart attack that took him out. And obviously he crashed into, I can't remember what he crashed into, but he crashed into something. So, we don't know. So
Yeah.
call 911.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
super important.
Yeah. It's kind of like when it was in wintertime, of course, October, Thanksgiving night. And I told Elva, I says, I'm going to the hospital. I'm going to the ER. And she jumped out of bed. She said, well, you're not driving at age 73 with chest pains. Are you kidding me? And I said, well, I was hoping I wasn't going to argue with you because I don't care about driving or anything like that. But yeah, you do not want to drive because that's dangerous.
Mhm.
Because it's just like getting hit in the back of the head with a ball bat.
Right.
You don't have time to respond properly. And if you do have aspirin there, you can take an aspirin because it will not be detrimental to you if you have to go to the ER for heart condition.
Right.
Because what they do when they draw the blood and they see that protein, first thing they do, they gave me 4 baby aspirin, says, drink this right now, down the hatch. Now, take this little nitroglycerin pill, little
Put it
green
under your
white thing,
tongue.
put it under your tongue, and within a couple of minutes, I felt all this expansion of my blood vessels in my head first, and then that's when it opened up all the blood vessels and it released the pressure in the heart. That's when the heart attack was over.
Right.
That's how important it is to get there because you don't need to suffer, any more than absolutely necessary. And that's why, because if you have aspirin in the house, you can take 1 or 2. You're not going to, wow, I wish you hadn't taken that. Wish you'd have got up here before you taken that, babe, because aspirin is what they give you in the ERs. First thing they
Right.
give you.
Right. So, they're going to run an EKG. They'll
Mhm.
probably do blood work
Yeah.
because they're, going to look at like you said, the proteins and the enzymes,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And that gives them their baseline in which to go off of, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of preventative things that they're going to
Mhm.
talk to you about.
Mhm.
Your diet. Like you said, you love cheese,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you can't eat as much as you would prefer,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely.
But it doesn't mean you can't have a little cheese here and there.
Mhm. Yeah,
You just can't
exactly.
live in that space 7 days a week,
Yeah.
right?
That'd kill you too. But
So
yeah.
I mean, and it's so important that we have, that we listen to the doctors and
Mhm.
eat well and have our
Yeah.
vegetables and have our fruits.
Yeah. And again, let me emphasize if you're concerned about your heart, have your medical doctor set you up with a cardiologist, an appointment.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. And Donna knows exactly what I'm going to say. When you land in the ER like I did, and like everybody does lands in the ER with a heart attack, okay, they're not going to call your medical doctor.
They're not going to call a podiatrist.
No. Who are they going to call, Donna?
Ghostbusters. I mean,
That's right.
cardiologist.
Yeah. We're going to call a cardiologist.
Yes.
Because most people who wind up in the ER, and we're going to go into this more in a later show, probably Thursday or Friday, but most people who wind up in the ER, they were just like me, decade after decade after decade. Good blood pressure, good cholesterol levels, you're doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. And that wound me up in the hospital having a heart attack. I'm not knocking medical doctors.
Right.
Because there is no test that they can give you that can detect the Widowmaker. It cannot be detected by blood. Get my tongue going here. Because I was in the hospital that Friday night, Saturday, and then Sunday, and then they're going to put the stents in on Monday. That's when they discovered, hey, these stents won't work for you. You got too much blockage in there. In one area, you got 100% down there in that LAD with the Widowmaker. We can't turn you loose. We got to put you in ICU. You need open heart surgery. You need bypasses now. There was a total of 67 tests done on me during that weekend. And of course, every time they do the blood pressure, check the blood pressure, they register that. They look at that as being a test. 67 different things, okay? Every time they come in and draw blood out of the back of my hands every 6 hours, that's another test, okay? So there was 67 of those. Not one of those tests tripped a flare and said, hey, this guy's got the Widowmaker.
Right.
So make sure you discuss that with your cardiologist, heart disease, and just know that you know two things. Number one, it's your health at stake. It's your heart. And if you have to go to another cardiologist, get a second opinion, do it. Because after all, who's going to be in the hospital and who ain't? You are the cardiologist.
Right. Absolutely.
So be true to yourself. Love yourself enough to say, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I will not live in fear. Mm-hmm. And Jim Grant, if he's as old as ugly as he is, he can survive a heart attack. I know I got this thing whooped, baby.
Oh, listen to you. You're silly.
Yeah, see, I'm actually dyslexic, so I tell people I'm 47 now.
Well,
that works.
Right, it works. MayoClinic.org folks has some really great information that will help give you, a great understanding, an overview, if you will. And so, of course, there's so many different things that can contribute to heart problems. You could have a blood vessel disease, coronary arteries. You could have irregular heartbeat, so an arrhythmia, heart problems that you're born with, a congenital heart defect, right? It could be disease of the heart muscle. It could be heart valve disease. There are so many things. And of course, lifestyle choices are a big factor. And so that's something that we need to think about, right?
Yeah. I'm reading here in Health News there, Donna, on that one article we were on down at the bottom. The heart attack you never knew you had. And that immediately brings to my mind what I said about my brother. He had a heart attack and didn't know he had it, And afterwards we joked about it. And I said, well, Ben, it may have something to do with intelligence. And of course, he's got a good sense of humor like me. And he says, intelligence, what that? I said, I don't know. That they told me not to worry about it.
Right. But
silent heart attacks happen without symptoms. And they have a greater impact on the health of women and minorities. And it's just amazing how the silent heart attacks represent about 45% of all heart attacks. And a study appearing in the latest issue of Circulation, which is a journal of the American Heart Association, Dr. Elsid Solomon, the senior authority of the study and director of the Cardiology Research Center at Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center, he says, silent heart attacks are still heart attacks.
Absolutely.
And they're definitely the silent killer. And, Donna, when silent heart attacks don't give any kind of warning signs or anything like that, the lingering effects are still the same. And to determine how common silent heart attacks are, the researchers examined 9,498 participants in a study. Of those, 703 had a heart attack.
Wow.
Either silent or with symptom. Yeah, and didn't know. African Americans, they have a slightly higher rate of silent heart attacks than whites. But whites had a higher rate of clinical heart attacks.
Hmm.
So either way you look at it, just make sure that you are, true to your school, understand that what you've been eating could now be eating you, could be
Right.
working against you, it could be blocking your arteries, whatever. Get it checked out. Don't live in fear because some people I've known people that smoke all their life ever since they were teenagers. They ate fast food.
Ate
And
fatty food,
yeah, yeah. I mean, look at
junk
look at
food.
the let's just let me pull back on the mercy break here a moment. Look at the greatest generation. For us baby boomers, our parents, in other words.
Absolutely.
I mean, they didn't even know what going to an exercise gym was. They didn't have running shoes,
They
jogging
didn't
shoes.
need to.
Nah. And yet they smoke, they drank. Exercise with them was probably doing the back scrub in the shower or the bath.
Well,
I
but it
mean,
was a time when people had gardens, and
yeah,
I'm just going to say
yeah,
this, it was when
yeah,
people took care of their own. So what I
yes,
mean by that is they cleaned their own house, they did
yeah,
their own yard work, they
mhm,
painted their own house. And I'm
mhm,
not trying to be disrespectful to anybody
right,
who has those things done for them.
mhm,
But
yeah,
we have also become, it seems to me, a generation of we have other people. We're trading our, I get it, time for service.
mhm,
But
yeah,
sometimes when we do that, we're also trading in our health.
yes, yes. Because a lot of times too, like people, I mean, growing up, we didn't. If we ate out somewhere, it was a rarity.
Oh, it was a treat.
Yeah, and when my kids grew up, I mean, we didn't eat out that much, but when we did, it was a treat.
Same with mine.
Yeah,
Same
and
with mine.
because we grew our own vegetables and stuff like that, and a lot of times too, people are trading off. They're trading their time and paying money for it to be able to buy fast food or other foods like that that's been processed. And I mean, look at all of I mean, good, not to pick on anything, but I'm just going to say it because it's true. When I was in school, the fat kids you could count on one hand.
And
Now
have
you can
change
count the
left
skinny
over.
kids on one hand,
And have change left over.
Yes.
Hmm.
I mean, and I'm not knocking anybody because I mean, all of the
No,
stuff
no,
that they
no.
put into
But
food and stuff like that. If it's,
exactly.
yeah, because 20 years ago, I knew about chickens that they had altered over gave them something over at Texas A&M, and you could practically see those chickens grow. You would be able to see growth from day to day.
Hmm.
That's not normal. So
Right. They give
therefore, if
them
they're
a
putting,
growth hormone.
yeah, and when they put that growth hormone in them, and then you eat the food, the meat,
Hello.
yeah, exactly. And see,
Hello.
that's why a lot of people are, we got some big kids. We really do. And I mean, what I'm saying is that's not natural. It's really not natural. And what's natural for you is not natural for somebody else.
Right.
And like I say, I've known people that smoke all their life. I've known people that, have never went to a gym like the greatest generation. But the most common thing that they had was that they ate healthy food. They did not eat fast foods. They really didn't.
Right.
And nutrition is the starting point of good health. And it's just the foundation of good health, period.
Well, and here's something I want to, since you said nutrition, if you
Okay.
don't mind, if I can
Sure.
just speak to it for a
Oh,
moment.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not a nutritional expert, but I do have some knowledge. Okay.
Mhm.
Some hard school facts of life knowledge, some deep down research on my own. When you buy fat free, low fat, yada, 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 it has been altered.
Mm-hmm.
It is a chemical
Yeah.
sweepstake in there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because you've taken that out. So they've had to alter that somehow because it isn't natural. Think about that for a moment.
Yeah.
Now, when I make, and we talk about this all the time on the show. It is no secret. I cook like a crazy woman. I bake like a crazy woman. I don't use anything that is fat-free or low-fat. I won't, because it isn't natural, right? So it's not like we are living in the space of, 6 pounds of cheese a day or what have you. We don't. So if I make, say I take a chicken breast and I stuff it with, goat cheese and artichokes and seasonings and what have you, we're not eating that every single night. Right. And we're not eating a pound of cheese in that stuffed chicken breast.
Oh yeah.
So for me, the choice for my house and my family is not having fat-free. We have full fat, but we do it in small spaces, right? We're not living in that.
Yeah. And light to you should be the reduced portion.
Right.
Rather than the substance, because you're exactly right. It's kind of like I've heard people say, well, I must drink decaffeinated coffee because I cannot drink regular coffee. It makes me too jittery or whatever.
Right.
And the fact of it is you may be drinking too much coffee, getting too much caffeine from the coffee. That's more than what you're. Yes, exactly. Because look at the way the process of how they decaffeinate coffee. And that's all I'm going to say.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say.
Right.
If you think your gut's a radiator, made out of metal and can withstand anything, good luck with that.
But I mean, there's so many things that factor into our health and the things that we can do that are not only warning signs of heart issues, but heart attacks. And
yes.
I think sometimes, Jim, just like you said, you thought you were safe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And again, we get to a certain point in our life and you think, all right, devil didn't get me on that one, right?
Yeah.
Woo, I'm good. I'm safe. Yeah. Right. But then we start thinking about it and you go to the doctor and you find out, you've had this, or this, and you think, then you all of a sudden put into your head, I got to think about this for a minute. Now, if I back up the program and I look, well, maybe I've been more tired this year than I was a year ago this time.
Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes, folks, it takes a wake-up call. But what I'm saying here is look at your life closely and don't let that wake-up call be a heart attack.
Oh, no.
Think about what you're doing and how you felt 6 months ago, a year ago. And if you are noticing some of these, like some of the signs, the warning signs, get into your doctor right away.
Yeah. Because imagine how you would feel if you were like me, you're decade after decade. I remember I was 54 or 55, I think it was. And Evelyn, she says, Jim, you need to go to the doctor. You need to get a full physical because you've been putting it off. I've been telling you since you're 50, you should do it. So like a real man, I looked at her and I said, well, set it up. She did, and I went. And of course, the test came back, EKG, blood work, everything great. And the doctor says, wow, man, you're really doing good. And this made me feel good, okay, obviously. And he says, you may be 54 on the outside, but on the inside, you're like about 40. He said, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. Then he looked at me and he says, now just remember one thing. He says, you cannot do what you did when you was 25. I looked at him and I said, well, who wants to be that dumb again? But that was the way my world turned for decades. And then, wham, I wound up in the ER with a heart attack.
Right.
So,
it was a false security.
It was a safety net that had a hole in it. Yeah. False security.
So knowing some of these warning signs can save you from having a full-blown heart attack, folks.
Yeah. And again, if heart disease runs in your family, Tell your doctor I'd like to have an appointment with a cardiologist because heart disease runs in our family. There's a lot of symptoms out there that go under the radar.
Right.
I mean, the Widowmaker, I mean, that thing's a bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I even asked the doctors in the hospital after I had my heart attack, after I knew I had the Widowmaker, I says, was there a test that I could have taken that would have detected that I had the Widowmaker?
Mm-hmm.
And they just kind of like looked at me. As soon as I asked that question, I already knew what the answer was. I mean, they've been doing all those tests on me on Saturday and Sunday and all that before I go in there. And goodness, every time I turn around, there's some other specialist walking in the door to see me. So
Right.
the answer is no. So, I mean, be proactive when it comes to your heart.
Right.
You owe that to yourself. You owe that to your loved ones, your family, your friends, and you owe that to enjoy the abundance of life. So put your heart into it. Come on, let's go for the home team.
Absolutely. And if you have had anyone in your family that has just died right now of a heart attack, then they probably had a Widowmaker.
Yeah, that's usually the culprit because
right.
You hear stories of people walking down the street,
going to bed fine, not waking up in the morning, what have you.
Yeah, because that Widowmaker, when it hits, it's just do the research on Widowmaker, and you'll see what we're talking about. But I had a friend of mine back in 1988. We were the same age. He was just turned 40, and his wife told me, he says, yeah, he felt great. He always enjoyed great health. He was he had his own business, and he was, he was worth over $1 million net in 1988, and he started out with nothing. And he worked hard, and he'd work, he'd be doing his work while eating a sandwich with one hand and working with the other, and doing great. And one day he's walking down the street. He's going to cross the street, waiting on the light, dropped dead of a heart attack.
Wow.
Now, they didn't do an autopsy. They assumed, it was a heart attack. They knew that, but they didn't determine if it was a Widowmaker or not. But that's usually compliments of the Widowmaker, because if you have a heart attack outside of a hospital, compliments of the Widowmaker, your survival rate's about 15%.
Right.
It gets up to about 60% if you're in a hospital. So I'm not trying to scare anybody or anything like that, because if I survived a heart attack in the Widowmaker, and I did, you can too, but be proactive. Do not live in fear.
This is just about education and awareness. That's why we want to talk about this, folks, because this is a big deal.
Yeah.
And like for women, we don't think about it. Jim, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even think about half these symptoms for women.
Oh, neither did I.
And I read about them, and I'm thinking, gosh darn it, Donna, you're a pretty bright woman. You're well educated, you're well rounded, you're proactive about your health, and yet I didn't know a lot of these things about warning signs of heart issues with women.
Yeah.
So I did not do my due diligence in learning some of these things, and of course we know, folks, that as we get older, it can happen.
Oh yeah, and the reason why you want to be proactive at this, and the odds are in your favor, because 1 out of every 4, which means 25% of people that have suffered a heart attack, will 25% they will have heart failure. But the 75% who didn't, obviously they did some things. Now, some of the stuff may be hereditary, and we understand and we respect that. But a lot of it's, what you've been eating and your lifestyle.
A lot of it is environmental.
Yes.
Right.
I actually, I joined a group on Facebook after I had surgery. This guy, now this had to be a guy, okay? I'm picking on us men folk, so I don't think any woman could be that dumb. This guy wrote in there and he says, well, since I had my open heart surgery, I had 4 bypasses 6 months ago. I've gained over 50 pounds. I'm going like, that has nothing to do with your heart surgery. That has everything to do with your mouth. Instead of stitching up you're working on your heart, they should have worked on half of that big mouth of yours. Because, you got to be proactive. You got to be prudent. Now, another thing too, and I just want to say this, but I'll probably say it 2 or 3 times during the week. If you have to have open heart surgery, okay, it is not painful. I know that sounds goofy, but trust me on this. It's not painful. I've had more pain or discomfort, I should say, after going to a dentist and coming back. Okay. I mean, it wasn't anything like what I experienced.
Right.
I mean, it just wasn't. So, I mean, don't live in fear, because I've known people say, well, I got to go in for open heart surgery. And what can I experience when I come home? Okay, it's real simple. You're not going to be able to lay flat in your bed.
Right.
So either have some people get some foam rubber, and you can have, people shape it for you to where you're
Recliner.
Incliner.
Or a recliner or something along those lines.
Because you can't lay flat. It's too much pressure on your chest, okay?
Right.
And number 2, your skin's going to be very, very sensitive, like it's sunburned, okay? In fact, I went to sleep one night and I had my hands folded on my chest like this, and it woke me up because there was too much weight on my incision. I had an 8-inch incision.
Right.
And so expect that. But as far as laying there, I'm in pain. No. And that's not only my experience, but the other people I took rehab with who had open heart surgeries. One guy had 5 bypasses. And we talked about, he said, I didn't have any pain. No, me neither. We don't. I did take a pain pill one night because some of the medication I had me on was getting me up every hour and a half to drain my bladder. So I'm going to take a pain pill. Maybe I can get a couple, 3 hours sleep before I have to take a whiz. Well, it briefed well. But what happened was that I woke up and I had to go to the restroom. And so I get up and I'm kind of woozy, and I'm thinking, well, I had to sit down in the bed and, get my equilibrium back. Yes. And then take care of the business. But I figured, well, so much for that cheap thrill. That didn't work. But I had some very potent pain pills that I did not need to take. Right. And it's nice to have them, Yeah.
Well, and here's something else. Getting plenty of rest.
Yes, ma'am. You will do that.
So important. Mm-hmm. That is a key to any kind of anything in your life.
Yeah.
Those days when, I can get by on 4 hours of sleep and go like hell the next 2 or 3 days. Those days are over. I can tell you now that at 51, let's see, how old was I with my last, give me a second, 7 years ago, or was it 8? I think it was 8 years ago was my main brain surgery. And when I had that, I went in for surgery. I was home for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I went back to work the 3rd week, worked a regular 40-hour shift. And then so it'd be going into the 4th week after main brain surgery. I went to work, and it was our busy season, and I worked 114 hours that week. My body, no wonder I was fried. I was black and blue. You guys, I did what I had to do because I had to take care of my kids and pay my bills, but it's not something I would recommend.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I can tell you now where I'm at 57, going to be 58. There is no way in hell I will work 114 hours a week again.
That's a sign of intelligence there. Yeah.
Right. I physically can't do it. That is our time for our body to heal, to regenerate. That's part of what sleep does for us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because after I came home, I find myself just drifting off, and I didn't even realize I was drifting off. I drifted off. But, that's just because I told Donna, I said, I'm going to take off the rest of November and all of December and just heal. And she says, I'm glad to hear that. And I did. And she continued on with the show and did a great job there. But don't live in fear about it or anything like that, because it's,
Live in knowledge, and that empowers you.
Yes, it does.
Fear will cripple you. Knowledge will empower you, folks.
Yeah. Fear is a negative energy that shorts you out. It's like putting your finger in a wall receptacle. You don't need that.
Yeah.
And then, in fact, after I had my heart attack, after I had my surgery, excuse me, open heart surgery on Monday, November the 1st. And on Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday night it was, I had to call Donna, let her know I was okay. And when I called her, she was kind of surprised at how well I sounded, how I almost
Yes.
sounded normal.
I
And
mean, as normal as you can be under
yeah, I
those
mean,
circumstances.
she was talking about the strength, not the, but because she knew that was no, we know what that test is going to reveal right there. No, but really, it's she was amazed how well I did
Yes.
feel, and I want to let her know, hey, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to be all right. And there's a lot. Oh my goodness, we gotta do part 2 tomorrow.
Yes,
gotta do
we are
part 2
out of
tomorrow.
time, folks.
Yep.
But we really hope that you have learned some things and enjoyed
Amen.
the show,
Yeah.
and that it helps you or someone you know.
Yeah.
And if it strikes a chord with you that somebody you know might be dealing with some of these symptoms, please have them tune in and watch this episode of the show and get the help you need.
Oh yeah, and you can watch previous episodes of our show on our website. There we have a running blog on our webpage. Just go to ourtvshow.live, or you can pick us up there on our YouTube channel, Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show. Either way, and if you'd like more information or where can I find the show, just email us at inspiration@e360tv.com. One of our staff members will be getting that information, and we will get that information back to you, whatever it is, as fast as we can. So that's our commitment to you. So anyway, we're going to be doing the rest of the week, parts 2 through 5 on the heart disease. We got different topics going to be covering, and be sure and share this with someone that deep down inside, no pun intended, in your heart, they need to hear this, because a lot of people, they don't want to think about that. So the bottom line is, as Donna and I say, don't live in fear, or she said best, live in knowledge. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care of yourself, and we love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. You folks in TV land, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.